The silent years, the red sun cast an eerie glow over the ruins of what had once been Chicago. Captain Elena Vasquez crouched behind a pile of twisted metal, watching as Kethvar patrol ships glided silently overhead. Their sleek black hulls reflected the dying light like predatory birds searching for prey. 8 years had passed since the aliens first arrived, and the world Elena once knew had become nothing more than a memory. She pressed her back against the cold concrete, feeling the familiar weight of her modified plasma rifle. The weapon had been cobbled together from salvaged alien technology and human engineering, much like everything else in their resistance movement. It was a symbol of what humanity had become: resourceful, desperate, and stubbornly refusing to give up. "Elena," a voice whispered through her earpiece. It was Dr. Marcus Chen, speaking from their hidden base 3 levels underground. "The patrol pattern is changing. They're sweeping the old financial district more frequently." Elena's jaw tightened. The Kethvar were getting smarter, or maybe they were just getting more paranoid. Either way, it made their job harder. She had been leading this particular cell of the resistance for 3 years now, ever since their previous leader had been captured and subjected to the aliens' brutal interrogation methods. "Any word from the other cells?" she asked quietly, keeping her eyes on the sky. "Zara picked up something interesting," Marcus replied. "She wants to brief you as soon as you get back." Elena nodded to herself. Zara al-Rashid was their communications expert, a former software engineer who had become their link to the outside world. If anyone could crack the Kethvar's encrypted communications, it was her. The fact that she had found something worth mentioning meant it was probably important. The patrol ships moved on, their engines making a sound like distant thunder. Elena waited another 10 minutes before moving, a lesson learned from too many close calls. The Kethvar were patient hunters, and they often doubled back to catch humans who thought they were safe. She made her way through the ruins, following a path she had memorized over months of careful scouting. The aliens had turned most of Earth's major cities into resource extraction sites, stripping away everything useful and leaving behind hollow shells. Humans who survived the initial invasion were either enslaved in the mining operations or driven into hiding. The entrance to their base was hidden beneath the remains of an old subway station. Elena moved aside a carefully placed piece of debris and slipped through a gap in the concrete. The passage led down through a series of maintenance tunnels that the Kethvar had never bothered to map. It was one of the few advantages humans still possessed: intimate knowledge of their own world. The base itself was carved out of an old underground parking structure. They had reinforced the walls and installed their own power systems using stolen alien technology. It housed 43 people, including 15 who were capable of combat operations. It wasn't much, but it was home. "Elena," Dr. Chen emerged from the laboratory section, his face showing the kind of excitement she hadn't seen in months. Behind him, Zara was hunched over a bank of jury-rigged computers, her fingers flying across multiple keyboards. "What did you find?" Elena asked, setting down her weapon. Marcus gestured toward Zara's workstation. "Show her what you intercepted." Zara turned around, her dark eyes bright with possibility. "I've been monitoring Kethvar communications for weeks, trying to find patterns in their patrol schedules. But 3 days ago, I picked up something else entirely." She pulled up a waveform on one of her screens. "This is a transmission that bounced off their communication satellites. It's not from them, it's human." Elena felt her heart skip a beat. "Human? Are you sure?" "Positive. The encryption is old Earth Defense Corps protocol, the kind they used for deep space missions. But here's the interesting part: it's coming from outside the solar system." Elena stared at the screen, hardly daring to believe what she was hearing. "Outside the solar system? That's impossible. All our long-range ships were destroyed in the first wave." Marcus stepped forward, his voice filled with barely contained excitement. "That's what we thought. But what if some of them escaped? What if they've been out there all this time building strength?" Zara nodded enthusiastically. "I've been working on decrypting the message. It's heavily encoded, but I've managed to pull out fragments. References to Phoenix Protocol and Operation Lazarus. And this," she highlighted a section of text on her screen, It mentions Earth resistance cells and something about the awakening. Elena read the partial message, her mind racing. Phoenix Protocol had been a theoretical contingency plan, something the military had discussed but never officially implemented. It involved evacuating key personnel and assets if Earth ever faced an existential threat. How do we know this isn't a Kethvar trap? She asked, forcing herself to think tactically despite her growing excitement. Because of this, Marcus said, producing a small device from his pocket. I've been analyzing Kethvar technology for years, looking for weaknesses. Their communication systems operate on a specific frequency range that's incompatible with our old protocols. This transmission is definitely human. Elena studied the device in Marcus's hand. It was one of his many projects, a scanner that could identify alien technology signatures. She had learned to trust his technical expertise over the years, especially after his discoveries had saved their lives more than once. Can you send a response? She asked Zara. I've been trying, but I need more power and a clearer transmission path. The Kethvar monitor most communication frequencies, so we'd need to use their own satellites against them. Elena understood immediately. You want to hack into their network. It's the only way to reach whoever sent this message. But it would require getting close to one of their communication hubs. Very close. Elena looked around the room at the faces of her team. These people had followed her through 3 years of hit-and-run attacks, sabotage missions, and desperate escapes. They trusted her judgment even when it led them into danger. Where's the nearest hub? She asked. Zara pulled up a map on another screen. The old Willis Tower. They've converted the top floors into a regional communication center. It's heavily guarded, but if we could get inside for even a few minutes. It's suicide, said Tom Bradley, one of their demolitions experts who had been listening from across the room. That place has more security than a Kethvar fortress. Elena nodded grimly. Tom was right. It would be incredibly dangerous. But the possibility of re-establishing contact with other human survivors was too important to ignore. For 8 years, they had fought believing they were alone, that Earth's scattered resistance cells were all that remained of humanity. What do you need? She asked Zara. Direct access to their primary communication array. I'd need maybe 10 minutes to establish a connection and send our response. And I need samples of their latest security protocols, Marcus added. If there really are human ships out there, they'll need to know about the Kethvar's current capabilities. Elena spent the next hour reviewing their intelligence on the Willis Tower facility. The Kethvar had transformed it into a bristling fortress of alien technology, complete with energy shields and automated defense systems. Getting inside would require everything they had learned about alien security measures. But as she studied the plans, an idea began to form. The Kethvar were methodical creatures following predictable patterns in their security rotations. They also had one significant blind spot. They underestimated human creativity and adaptability. I have a plan, she announced finally. It's risky, but it might work. She gathered her team around the main planning table and began laying out her strategy. They would create a diversion on the building's lower levels, while a small team infiltrated the communication center. The key was timing. They would need to coordinate their movements perfectly to avoid the overlapping security systems. Tom would handle the explosives, creating enough chaos to draw the guards away from the upper floors. Marcus would accompany Elena to gather intelligence on Kethvar technology. Zara would focus entirely on establishing communication with the mysterious signal. When do we go? Asked Sarah Kim, their best infiltration specialist. Elena looked at the chronometer on the wall. Tomorrow night. The Kethvar change their security protocols every 72 hours. We'll hit them during the transition window. The next 24 hours passed in a blur of preparation. They checked and rechecked their equipment, rehearsed their timing, and went over contingency plans. Elena found herself thinking about the intercepted message, wondering who might be out there in the darkness between stars. As night fell over the ruined city, Elena's team made their final preparations. They moved through the empty streets like ghosts, using every bit of cover available. The Willis Tower loomed ahead of them, its upper floors glowing with the eerie blue light of Kethvar technology. Elena pressed herself against the side of a damaged building, watching the patrol patterns. One last time. In a few minutes, they would either succeed in making contact with humanity's lost fleet, or they would die trying. Either way, they would not go quietly into the darkness that had claimed their world. She keyed her communicator one last time. All teams, this is Eagle Leader. Phoenix Protocol is now active. We're going home. The assault on the Willis Tower began with Tom's explosions echoing through the night. And for the first time in 8 years, Elena Vasquez dared to hope that humanity's darkest hour might finally be coming to an end. The rising storm, the explosion, shook the Willis Tower's foundation, sending vibrations through every floor. Elena pressed herself against the maintenance shaft wall as Kethavar security forces rushed past, their reptilian voices harsh with urgent commands. The diversion was working perfectly. Eagle Leader, this is demolition. Tom's voice crackled through her earpiece. Package delivered. You've got maybe 15 minutes before they sort this mess out. Elena keyed her transmitter twice in acknowledgement, then continued climbing through the narrow shaft. Below her, Marcus moved with surprising agility for a scientist, his pack of scanning equipment secured tightly to his back. Above them, the communication array pulsed with alien energy signatures. They had made it to the 70th floor when Zara's voice cut through the static. Elena, I'm picking up massive communication traffic. They're calling in reinforcements from the other districts. Elena paused, considering their options. They were committed now. There was no going back. Without completing the mission, how long do you need? Give me 8 minutes with their main array. That should be enough to piggyback our signal onto their deep space transmitters. Elena resumed climbing, her muscles burning from the effort. The Kethvar had built their communication center in the tower's crown, replacing the original structure, with their own crystalline technology. Getting there meant passing through multiple security checkpoints, each one potentially lethal. They reached the communication level just as the building's alarm systems began wailing. Red lights bathed the corridors in an ominous glow, and the air hummed with the sound of charging energy weapons. Marcus, start your scans, Elena whispered, covering the corridor while he deployed his equipment. Zara, we're at the primary array. How's the connection? Working on it. Their encryption is more complex than I expected, but I'm breaking through. Elena watched the corridor entrances, her modified plasma rifle ready. The weapon had been her constant companion for 3 years, cobbled together from alien technology and human ingenuity. It represented everything the Resistance had become: adaptive, resourceful, and deadly when cornered. A Kethavar guard rounded the corner, its scaled hide gleaming under the emergency lights. Elena fired without hesitation. The plasma bolt, catching the alien center mass, it dropped without a sound, its weapon clattering across the floor. Contact, she reported calmly. We're blown. More guards appeared, their energy weapons charging with distinctive whining sounds. Elena fell back toward the communication chamber, laying down covering fire. Marcus had already connected his scanners to the alien systems, downloading everything he could about their current military capabilities. Got it! Zara's voice rang with triumph. Connection established, sending our response now. The chamber filled with the sound of weapon fire as Kethvar reinforcements arrived. Elena's team had prepared for this moment, setting up defensive positions around the communication array. They might not survive the next few minutes, but their message would reach whoever was listening in the depths of space. Then something incredible happened. The alien communication array began resonating with a new frequency, one that Elena recognized from her old Earth Defense Corps training. The response signal was powerful, so strong that it overwhelmed the Kethvar's own transmitters. This is Admiral Sarah Knox, Terran Liberation Fleet. A human voice filled the chamber, clear and strong despite the vast distance. Earth Resistance, your message received. Prepare for Phoenix Rising. Repeat, prepare for Phoenix Rising. Elena felt tears streaming down her face as she continued firing at the advancing guards. After 8 years of silence, humanity had answered. Liberation Fleet? She gasped into her communicator. How many ships? 47 vessels and counting, came the reply. We've been gathering strength, building new technologies, waiting for this moment. Hold your positions, Earth. We're coming home. The battle in the communication chamber was reaching its climax when Marcus made another stunning discovery. Elena, their defense grid, it's got a critical vulnerability. If we can transmit the access codes to the fleet, do it, Elena ordered, even as plasma bolts seared the air around her. Marcus's fingers flew over the alien controls, uploading everything he had learned about Kethvar security systems. The data stream flowed through space toward the approaching human fleet, carrying the keys to Earth's liberation. The extraction from the Willis Tower was harrowing, but Tom's demolition work had created enough chaos to cover their escape. As they made their way back to base through the ruined streets, Elena couldn't stop thinking about Admiral Knox's words. 47 ships. It was more than anyone had dared hope for. Back at the underground base, the news spread like wildfire. For the first time in 8 years, the Resistance had something more than mere survival to fight for. They had hope. Over the following days, more transmissions arrived from the Liberation Fleet. The Admiral filled them in on 8 years of hidden history. When the Kethvar had first attacked, a small group of Earth's most advanced warships had escaped into deep space, following contingency protocols that few had known existed. But instead of fleeing, they had begun a systematic campaign of preparation. Using captured Kethvar technology and human innovation, they had built new vessels that combined the best of both civilizations. More importantly, they had gathered other survivors, colonies that had escaped the initial assault, military, units that had gone underground, even alien species that had fallen victim to Kethvar expansion. The fleet that was now approaching Earth was unlike anything humanity had ever assembled. Each ship was a testament to human adaptability, crewed by people who had spent 8 years preparing for this moment. Admiral Knox's strategy was elegant in its simplicity. The resistance cells on Earth would coordinate simultaneous uprisings across the planet, targeting communication hubs and resource extraction facilities. At the same moment, the Liberation Fleet would emerge from hyperspace and engage the Kethvar orbital forces. Elena found herself appointed as the coordinator for the North American resistance cells, a responsibility that both terrified and thrilled her. Through encrypted communications, she reached out to groups she had only heard whispered rumors about: survivors in the ruins of New York, fighters hiding in the Rocky Mountains, scientists working in abandoned research facilities. The response was overwhelming. Hundreds of resistance cells emerged from hiding, ready to strike back at their oppressors. Each group brought unique skills and resources, creating a network of defiance that spanned the continent. As the day of the uprising approached, Elena received detailed intelligence about the Liberation Fleet's capabilities. The ships had been enhanced with revolutionary technologies, stealth systems that could hide entire vessels from detection, weapons that could adapt to alien defenses in real time, and most importantly, artificial intelligence systems that had learned from 8 years of studying Kethvar tactics. Commander Jin Park, the fleet's tactical officer, briefed the resistance leaders on the battle plan. "We've identified 17 critical targets in Earth orbit." His voice carried the confidence of someone who had spent years preparing for this moment. "Once we eliminate their command vessels, their ground forces will lose coordination." Elena studied the tactical displays that Zara had managed to decode from the fleet transmissions. The Liberation Fleet's ships looked nothing like the old Earth Defense Corps vessels. They were sleek, predatory craft that seemed to incorporate the best features of both human and alien technology. The night before the uprising, Elena gathered her team one final time. These people had become her family over 3 years of desperate fighting. They had survived together, fought together, and now they would either win their freedom together or die in the attempt. "Tomorrow we take our world back," she told them. "We've been hiding in the shadows for 8 years, but that ends now. The Kethvar thought they had broken us, but they were wrong. They never understood what makes humanity dangerous. We adapt, we overcome, and we never give up." As dawn broke over the ruins of Chicago, Elena received the final transmission from Admiral Knox. "All units, this is Liberation Fleet Command. Phoenix Rising is now active. Show them what humanity is capable of. Across the Earth, resistance. Cells emerged from hiding simultaneously. Explosions rocked Kethvar facilities as 8 years of suppressed fury erupted into coordinated violence. Elena led her team in an assault on the regional command center, their weapons blazing as they fought through alien security forces. But the real battle was happening in space. The Liberation Fleet dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, their ships immediately engaging the surprised Kethvar orbital forces. The aliens found themselves facing vessels that could anticipate their moves, adapt to their weapons, and strike with precision they had never encountered before. Elena watched from the rooftop of the command center as human ships danced through space, their weapons carving bright lines across the darkness. For 8 years, the Resistance had dreamed of this moment, the return of humanity's warships, enhanced by adversity and strengthened by determination. The battle raged for hours, but the outcome was never really in doubt. The Kethvar had grown complacent during their occupation of Earth, never expecting to face an enemy that had spent 8 years learning from defeat. When their command ships began falling to human weapons, their ground forces lost coordination and began to retreat. As the last Kethvar transport ships fled Earth's atmosphere, Elena stood among the ruins of the world she had fought to reclaim. The war was over, but the real work was just beginning. Humanity had proven once again that it was most dangerous when it seemed defeated. Admiral Knox's final transmission of the day reached every human on Earth. This is Liberation Fleet Command. To all Earth forces, welcome home. The Phoenix has risen, and humanity endures. Looking up at the stars where human ships now patrolled Earth's orbit, Elena smiled. They had lost everything, survived the impossible, and emerged stronger than ever. It was the most human thing imaginable, to rise from defeat and turn their greatest weakness into their ultimate strength.